You touched on adrenal fatigue. What's the difference between that and adrenal exhaustion?
Well, I don't personally condone, promote, or believe in the use of either one of those terms.
Okay.
Again, because it's misleading and it doesn't truly describe the physiology of what's really happening. It's not that the adrenals become fatigued, and then the idea of exhaustion is when it gets past the point of fatigue, and exhaustion is where there's just absolute no turning back. And it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. There are many, many other things that are involved in how